Hi, I'm Kritter XD, and I want to talk about the Wheel of Time Season 2, Episode 7, as a major Wheel of Time book nerd. Now, I haven't done one of these for a specific episode. I've been doing reactions and I've been doing live streams, but with the finale on the horizon, I want to talk about the episode, and then I want to predict what's going to happen in the finale in Episode 8. So first, we're going to start no book spoilers, and then we'll probably get a little wild after that. So thank you for being here. Before I get started, I want to say, please, if you like what you see here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell for notifications for when I post new content, and go live. I do Wheel of Time content, I do sci-fi fantasy content, I do reactions, I do deep dive discussions. It's a good time. So if you want to join in the fun, just go ahead and click that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I will say that these are my high-level thoughts about the episode. If you want me to dig deep, if you want me to get into it on a particular topic, feel free to request in the comments or hop onto my TikTok. I do a lot of shorter form deep dives over there on specific topics, so that's a good place for those questions. So overall, even though I think this was a set-up episode for the finale, I still think a lot of really exciting stuff happened. Specifically, speaking of the excited stuff, I'm going to jump right in to that Lanfear scene where she laid waste to the Foregate. Could she have probably gotten Rand out with actually 0 casualties? Yes. But that's not my messy queen. Also, I saw this on Twitter, but I was thinking the same thing. I just don't know who tweeted it first, so I can't give credit. But Rand asking Lanfear for help had such, "Hey mom, will you pick me up from school?" energy. It killed me. Speaking of Rand, it was so unbelievably satisfying to see the Lan Mandragoran that I know and love from the Wheel of Time books mentoring Rand, teaching him the sword forms, telling him how to be a man. That was something that I've been waiting for years now, and I finally got it. Would I take more? Absolutely, but I'm not going to be greedy, so for now, I'm extremely happy. I also liked how Lan's loyalty and devotion to Moraine translated into him helping her figure out that she was shielded and not stilled, which I've been saying all along. Also, that final confrontation when Moraine finds out that she can channel, opens a waygate, and then gets confronted by Swan and forced to close the waygate back again, only for Lanfear to pop up out of nowhere and absolutely dominate Swan and head into the waygate with Rand and Lan and Moraine, who, by the way, had slit her throat like 3 episodes earlier. That scene was a roller coaster of emotions, and I cannot wait to see how the Lanfear-Moraine thing especially pans out. I also just want to say that as far as Swan making the decision that she made goes, I don't think that was book Swan necessarily, but I do believe and recognize that what she was doing under some circumstances could have been perceived by her to be right. Wow, that was really convoluted. Basically, I think she had a good reason for doing what she was doing. She is the leader of the Aes Sedai, and apparently under Tower law, she was required to keep Rand, to capture him. So she was faced with her original plan not panning out the way she was hoping it would, and Tower law. So I think the decision she made, while not right necessarily, wasn't a reasonable one. I don't think she's a villain in this situation. I think they were just diametrically opposed when it came to their philosophies about how to handle the Dragon Reborn, which is not like Book Swan, but it is reasonable. As to the other plots, I think Egwene's singular line after demonstrating her extreme power was chef's kiss. That is my girl. I cannot wait to see her in episode 8. Perrin and the Maidens was interesting. That display and Ji'ito lesson was probably good for non-book readers to have, and the maiden seeing the ocean for the first time was like a nice, fun, sweet nod, especially for book readers, I think. Also, the more maiden Aiel humor we get, the better, in my opinion. If I had one complaint about the entire episode, it's probably the lighting in the scene where the maidens see the ocean for the first time. It looked really weird. I assume it was like a day to night shot. I've seen people talk about that. It was like oddly lit, and that's really all I have to say about that. I also really love to see the hand talk now that we've got multiple maidens at play. Elaine and Nynaeve didn't have a ton of time on screen, but the time that they did have was fabulous and set them up really nicely for an insane final episode. Seeing Elaine take charge to Nynaeve's chagrin, and then seeing Nynaeve squirm whenever Loyal was fawning all over Elaine, I loved it. Can't get enough. Also, Elaine dealing out the 1,000th concussion this season was pretty fabulous, especially because this time it was on a Soldom. Now, the title of the episode was Dace de Mar, and I feel like we got some, but the best display of it probably was with the Damodred drama. Lady Anvir turning her son Barthanes in when she discovered that he was a dark friend who was going to kill her sister Moraine. That was just objectively good television. I'm super curious to see if she lives long enough to out Leandrin as the Black Aja member that she is, or if she's going to get offed in this final episode. And last but not least, Matt, is this a sex thing? Coffin. I love Donal Finn as Matt. I think they've written this version of the character spectacularly well. Another complaint I would have is the lack of time we've gotten with him, but what we have gotten has been precious. While Ishamael seemed like he was trying to convince Matt that he was bad at the core, this is the father of lies we're talking about. I do not think this T showed past lives at all. I think maybe it showed biggest fears, or it made Matt susceptible to visions that Ishamael fed to him. I've got a little more about the Matt thing, but I'm going to save that for the spoilery section. Overall, this episode was fun. It was a setup episode. It was not my favorite of all the episodes. I think the last few episodes have been just top tier, hard to beat. I'd say maybe this one was probably in the middle. Better than probably the first two episodes, but maybe not quite as good as the rest of them, because the rest of them have just been, I've just loved them. I do think there is a lot of potential for the finale, which we're going to talk about here in a second, based on what went down in this episode. Okay, we are now going to transition to the spoilery part of this video. So if you do not want to be spoiled on the books, I'm going to say books 2 and 3 specifically, all the way up through book 3. I would ask you to leave now to avoid being spoiled. So jumping right into the Matt thing that I wanted to talk about. I've seen some speculation that this was meant to replace the flicker scene that happens in The Great Hunt. Now, if you've read the books, you know that in the flicker scene, the characters involved all saw different versions of their lives, different possibilities for what might have happened in their lives. And we didn't get the Matt POV, but afterwards, he assured Rand that he would never betray him, which leads us to assume that at least one of his lives, Matt was a bad guy, or at least betrayed Rand. So in one flicker scene, much like this T sequence, Matt probably turned to the dark side. So this could be Matt's version of flicker. Now, I'm not married to the flicker scene. I think we got like a taste of it back in season 1, episode 8 with Rand, where he saw what could be, or what could have been with Egwene. So now that we've gotten this little piece with Matt, I'm kind of fine without it. Let me know in the comments if you are. So this part I didn't script. So warning that it might get a little rambly, but I am going to predict what I think is going to happen in this next episode based on my book knowledge. I have not watched the promo, by the way, for this next episode. So if I'm wrong, please don't correct me in the comments, because I'm going in completely blind. Thursday night will be the first time I watch this episode, and I'm going to be reacting to it along with everybody else, and I'll be posting my reaction video as soon as I get it edited. So what I think is going to happen, let's just go through the various plots. The first one that I'm thinking of, because Egwene is my favorite character, is Nynaeve and Elaine are going to infiltrate the kennel and bust Egwene out. I'm hoping for the scene in the books where Egwene begins to torture Rhenna, and then Nynaeve kind of like pulls her back from it. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad if Egwene was the one who pulled herself back from it, because it would be the right thing to do. Obviously, Rhenna would still be punished, because with the collar on her, the Shan-Chan will know that at least she can channel. Hopefully they'll make the logical leap Soldom generally can probably channel, though they'll probably keep that under wraps like they did in the books. Also hoping to see Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine just kind of lay waste, lay waste to the Shan-Chan on their way out. I hope that they'll end up on Uno's ship because Rima mentioned it, and if Rima happens to get out as well, happy with that too. I would love to see a yellow sister, actually have something really cool to do instead of what happens with Rima in the books, which is really sad and tragic. They may not get out with Uno though, because what I'm going to predict next, which is going to be Rand's plot. This is basically what happens in the books, but I'm just hoping for it. It might not be Turok's manor that Rand fights Turok in, but it looks like he faces off against Turok in the square in an attempt to become a blade master, at least challenge a blade master. Based on the training that he's received thus far, he probably hasn't earned a victory there, so some kind of twist will happen where Ishamael sort of takes over the fight, and then somehow they'll get elevated into the sky, projected into the sky, whatever you want to call it, so that everyone can see the battle that's going on between Ishamael and Rand. And, okay, this is where things get weird, because we've seen the Mat vision, right? So I'm wondering if Rand ends up defeating Ishamael in some way, but then loses control of the power, because he doesn't have control of the power, and Mat has to stab him with the dagger that he gets we'll talk about that later. Mat stabs him with the Shatter Logoth dagger, creating the unhealable wound in order to stop him from destroying maybe the people he loves, maybe Falma in general. That would partially be Mat fulfilling his oath to Rand to, if either of them ended up going mad as a channeler, them killing each other first, right? They made that pact in season 1. Now, rewinding with Mat, because he does get tempted by the dagger at some point, I'm thinking in this next episode, maybe Ishamael presents the dagger to him as a tool that he can use, and Mat takes it. That's my guess. Mat maybe takes the dagger with him, or he rejects it, and then it kind of circles back and gets presented to him again, so that he can end up stabbing Rand with the dagger to prevent Rand from laying waste to everything. In the course of all of this, maybe as Mat's trying to leave while Rand's fighting Ishamael, because it's a classic Mat to try to leave while stuff like that is happening, he might get looped into a plot with Ingtar to steal the horn. And then, like in the books, he gets a hold of the horn and just kind of keeps it as they're escaping, even though Ingtar doesn't want him to, and he ultimately blows the horn. I hope Ingtar gets a moment to shine. I hope Ingtar reveals himself as a dark friend and prevents everyone from following Rand and Mat while they're escaping like they do in the books, but that may not happen. I'm thinking it will, though, just based on the conversation that Ingtar had with Perrin earlier on in this season. I don't think there's going to be a ton of Aiel in the finale. I think the 3 maidens are going to be basically it, and they're going to be with Perrin, doing whatever they're gonna do. Maybe Perrin will team up with Ingtar, rescue the horn. I don't know. I'm not super inclined to guess what's gonna happen there, but I do think that the White Cloaks are gonna show up, and I think that Hopper's gonna die. I'm just calling it now. I'm gonna hate it, but I think it's gonna happen, and I think it's gonna happen by the White Cloaks, and I think Perrin's going to go off on the White Cloaks, and it's going to officially and firmly establish the White Cloaks' beef with Perrin, and Perrin's beef with the White Cloaks. I also think that Moraine and Lan might not have a ton to do in the last, but I think they might get stranded, actually, at some point while they're in the ways. So I don't know if they're really going to do much in the final scene. They've had a lot of screen time. It is Rosamund Pike, so, you do want her to do some things, but I'm just not sure that she will. So officially, I think we're going to give the Two Rivers 5 the spotlight this episode, but I could be wrong. So TLDR version of my predictions. Mat will blow the horn. Rand will fight in the sky against Ishamael. Nynaeve and Elaine will break Egwene out. Egwene will probably start to torture Rena and then see the error of her ways, but leave Rena in the collar to be discovered. Perrin is going to fight alongside the Aiel, probably mainly against the White Cloaks, and Hopper is going to die. Moraine and Lan aren't going to have a ton to do. And ultimately, Mat is going to stab Rand with the dagger to prevent him from losing control of the power entirely and destroying everyone around him, including those that he loves. Okay, those are my predictions. Very excited to have them out in the universe. We'll see if I'm right. Thank you for watching this. It was fun to spitball here, talk about the penultimate episode, which was really fun to watch and has me super hyped for episode 8. If you like what you see here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my predictions and in what capacity. What do you think is going to happen? The big moments in the final episode. I want to hear it. And if you're going to do book spoilers, just like flag them, you know? Or don't couch them as this is what happens in the books so it doesn't spoil things. Just predict, and we'll see what happens. Finally, I want to say thank you to my generous patrons and members. You all are thebomb.com. I love you so much. If you want to join this esteemed group of individuals, you can do so by becoming a patron on Patreon or a member on YouTube. That is going to be it for me until the finale, when I will be posting a reaction after the fact, as usual. I'm so excited. I hope you are too. Bye!